appearance of Lord Nrsingadev was Satyuga. And according to Rupa Goswami's Laghu Bhagavatamrita, he doesn't even appear during, Lord Nrsingadev does not appear during this Manu. What does that mean? He appeared a long time ago. How long ago? Well, long time ago. Each Manu rules or reigns for 71 yuga cycles, and one yuga cycle is 4,320,000 years times 71. That's a lot of yuga cycles. That's a lot of years. And the present Manu is Manu number 7, Vaivasvata Manu. And the previous Manu was Manu number 6, Chakshusha Manu. And according to Rupa Goswami, Nrsingadev appeared during the reign of Chakshusha Manu. He gives the particular yuga cycle, which I don't remember right now. But, so long ago. So long ago. But time doesn't matter, because his celebrity, his being celebrated within the Vedas is for those who are connected to Vedic culture, is well known. The appearance of and the activities of Lord Nrsingadev and Prahlad, those two are inseparable in the Katha about Lord Nrsingadev. It appears in Padma Purana, Vishnu Damotara, in Vishnu Purana, and many other literatures. It's not just Srimad Bhagavatam is the only place. It's well known. There are variations in the details of the narration. The pastimes of the Lord vary from age to age, from kalpa to kalpa, day of Brahma to another day of Brahma. There's variety. But the theme is consistent. And so long ago, and yet it's celebrated. And the auspiciousness is there whether people recognize it or not. On our way over here, there's past something Christian high school. Nearby? So who lives nearby Christian high school? Yes. It's graduation day. It's Saturday. The parking lot was packed. It's not Nrsinga Chaturdasi. And they're not fasting. They're not celebrating or Anushri Gupta. Today is her graduation day from University of Chicago at Urbana-Champaign. Big celebration. Probably she's observing Nrsinga Chaturdasi, but probably, anyway. So the celebrations in America is something else, without going into the culture of no culture. How beneficial, how kind, merciful, compassionate, loving, self-sacrificing was Srila Prabhupada to bring this all around the world. All around the world. In far corners of the world. Just this morning I got a few messages from devotees in China. What do people in China know about Nrsinga Chaturdasi? Nothing. Except for the mercy of our founder Acharya. Now, the mercy of our founder Acharya, he was an instrument of some higher authority, his spiritual master, and etc., Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that his name should be heard in every town and village in the world. Took a long time, but it's starting to happen, and it's continuing, and it's continuing, and it's continuing. What does that do? It brings auspiciousness into a dark age. It's a dark age. It's Kali Yuga. It's not fun. It's not by design. It's not. And it doesn't get better. It gets darker and darker. Now, within this Kali Yuga, there's an opportunity for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy to bring light into this dark age. That's the light of the Bhagavad. The light of the Bhagavad. You've heard of that title? Book? Light of the Bhagavad? Some of you have, some of you haven't. Let me share with you that title. I've begun preparing a seminar on the light of the Bhagavad. What is the light of the Bhagavad, anyways? And what's the history of it? It's connected to the compassion of our founder Acharya, which was stimulated by and directed by his spiritual master's instruction to take the teachings of Lord Chaitanya around the world, specifically to the English-speaking parts of the world. But it's a long story. To make it a long story short, Srila Prabhupada was a householder. He was a very successful pharmaceutical business person. And at a certain point in time, by Krishna's arrangement, Krishna pulled the plug. And his business started going down. Prabhupada said that in his horoscope, and then later through an astrologer said that he would become one of the wealthiest people in India from his from birth chart and the astrological calculation. And he was on his way. And then Krishna showed his kindness. He pulled the plug. And everything started to go down and down and down and down and down and down. And then his family life started going down and down and down and down and down, to the point where, the historical little story, to get Srimad Bhagavatam at that time was really difficult. Now it's go on the internet, Krishna.com, click, BBT, click, Srimad Bhagavatam, click, here's my credit card information, here's my address, click, and it arrives at your door. You don't even have to go anywhere other than your computer and your credit card. Boom. Or somebody may come to your door and say, would you like one? But during that period of time, it was very rare. His wife sold Srimad Bhagavatam to get tea. That was too much. So he entrusted his business to his eldest sons and left. Well, it was not on a happy note. He left. And 2 years he traveled here and there, trying this and trying that. Nothing happened. He went to Vrndavan. Krishna wasn't letting it happen. He went to Vrndavan for 6 years. He stayed in a room that was probably as big as from that wall to that wall, and that wide, a little wider. Barren. For 6 years. By the side of Kishigat. It was just somebody's home that had some deity in their ground floor. They worshipped the deity. And he would daily go and worship the deity with them, as the family would do, because it was a family deity. And when he was in Vrndavan, living at this little place, an acquaintance in Delhi gave him a little card or flyer or something that indicated somebody in Japan was planning a conference, something like Festival of the Human Spirit. Whatever that means. That was his idea. And he had sent it out. He's inviting people to come. So Prabhupada's friend gave him a copy. Prabhupada wrote to the man. The man wrote him a letter that would be sufficient to get a visa. It's an formal invitation. You can remember, this is after World War II, and there was like a lot of restraints about people traveling from one country to another country. There was, a lot of restrictions. But the letter was sufficient. Prabhupada didn't have money to get on a plane. And the letter said, I'll give you, we will provide accommodation and meals. Prabhupada wrote, can you provide the air ticket? No. No answer. Didn't say no. There's no answer. So then he tried. Anyway, with the inspiration that he would go, he considered, think about it, it was known, it is still the fact, people in the eastern part of Asia, Southeast Asia and the eastern part of Asia, they like to understand things through nature. So he took 2 chapters from Canto 10, that's chapter 20, chapter 21. It's the change of seasons between summer and spring. It's just verses about what it's like in Vrndavan, depictions of nature. He wrote a 20,000 word document for that audience, with the intention that that would be his participation. There was other details. He's a mendicant with nothing, planning and encouraging this and that and the other. He wanted the man in Japan to enlist an artist. He wanted the man in Japan to give thought to printing the publication with those illustrations. He was thinking. I mean, he wrote in his little autobiography kind of diary. My spiritual master asked me to go to the English-speaking parts of the world, but all around the world, and here's an opportunity. So he was seizing the opportunity. He didn't go because he couldn't get the money for the airfare. 20 years later, the book was published. But, Light of the Bhagavad, because he wanted to put his foot in the door, that people in all parts of the world should become familiar with the Srimad Bhagavatam. Preceding him was his spiritual master, and preceding him was Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who did this. They both did the same thing. The method was a little different, but the principle was the same principle. And here we are, on the Sringa Chaturthi, at least for me, maybe a number of you, particularly our older generation families, would be honoring Nrsingadev's appearance anyway, even if it weren't for ISKCON. And many of the rest of us, even from Indian background, wouldn't be, at least in the same way, honoring this auspicious day and getting all kind of punya, if it weren't for the compassion and determination and facing all obstacles and surmounting them and continuing despite setbacks and everything relentlessly, tirelessly, compassionately, so that auspiciousness would come into the world in this dark age of Kali. Even if people don't understand, that's okay. It's better than baseball games and all the other things that go on, without mentioning the unmentionables. Lots of things go on that are not so nice. It's the mercy of our founder Acharya. Bright sunny day, Chicago land, the weather's gotten warm, it's very nice outside, people are out and about. I imagine there's lots of public Harinam going on today, when people are out and about doing whatever people do on a nice sunny day, getting the holy name. Some of you know Acharya Nishta. Some of you are nodding. Some of you don't know him. A brahmachari who was living in the Chicago temple for some time. He is now in France, a brahmachari. He just sent me a little video clip of their Maha Harinam in Paris. And wow. I don't know where the location is, but there's, on the right side is a river, and then they're up on a raised some area. Then over on the left side is a fantastic cathedral and zillions of people. And there were about, 40 devotees singing and dancing, and the ladies doing what they like to do, dancing and in nice choreographed, this way and then that way and then this way. And people were mesmerized. But it's not just the choreography, it's the holy name. The devotees were happy, and the people were being benefited. The creating punya in a dark age, what a challenge. Just this morning I heard Srila Prabhupada speaking about when he was in Delhi, several times he was invited to go to prisons and speak in prisons. I can imagine what he was speaking about, but he didn't say. He just said, in some cases, people in prison, they like to stay in prison because they don't have to worry about anything. They don't have to do anything. Their meals are there. They're so accustomed to the discomfort that they're comfortable. If they don't want out. If you were to give them pardon, they don't want out. No, there's others that do. But I'm just portraying this material world is a dark place, and the age is a dark age, and to bring light and a sense of, the deeper sense of inner contentment, it's a challenge. But the method is the method of sound vibration, and propagating the sound vibration in various ways makes it possible. So along with the time that we're spending here with just hearing a few verses from 7th Canto Bhagavatam, I encourage you may do as you wish, but I encourage you that you listen to other verses from the Bhagavatam and remember, because Lord Nrsingadev, because he's very kind. Especially he's kind to Prahlad, which means he's especially kind to those who have kindness towards him and regard for him, despite difficulties and challenges and everything. Very kind. Very kind to his devotee. So stimulate your devotion on this auspicious day, his appearance day. And whatever else happens, permanent impression of spiritual well-being will be imparted within the heart. And gradually, that has an effect of effacing the darkness of material existence, particularly in this dark age of Kali. Although he appeared in Satya Yuga, it was so not only just like long ago, several yugas ago, he appeared in Satya Yuga when it wasn't like it is here in our present circumstance. But the mercy is available. Avail yourself to the mercy. That's what I'd like to say. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5. And the situation is Prahlad has been entrusted in school to the sons of Shukracharya, Shanda and Amarka. And after some time, he asked Prahlad, what's the best thing you've learned in school? And Prahlad gave him a very surprising answer. He gave him a Vishnu Bhakti answer and said people that are too much attached, he point a finger at his father, but people who are too much attached to the material conception of life should leave, go to the forest, and become Vishnu Bhaktas, and become purified. What? So he ordered Chanda and Amarka to watch him carefully. Looks like somebody snuck into the classroom and polluted his intelligence. So Chanda and Amarka tried to work him over and get him to tell, where'd you hear this from? And that's you're being influenced by the enemy. So now Prahlad is saying, what? This friend and enemy consciousness, I heard about it, but now I'm seeing it. And, where'd you get it? He didn't say that. So he's explaining to Chanda and Amarka the material conception of life and how that is what pollutes. And one has that polluted consciousness, then one sees in this duality way. He's my friend because he scratches my back, and he's my enemy because he doesn't. That's where we are. So text 12, yes? 14. Text 14. Oh, this is nice.
11th because last
Canto 7, Chapter 5. Canto 7, Chapter 5.
we covered 11 last time.
So I'm at 14. Is that okay? Thank you. Oh, Brahmanas, teachers, as iron attracted by a magnetic stone. Now, in our modern experience, there's just iron magnets. But prior to iron magnets, there were magnetic stone that would attract iron, just having a natural property of magnetism. As iron attracted by a magnetic stone moves automatically toward the magnet, my consciousness, having been changed by his will, capital H, the Supreme Lord's will, is attracted by Lord Vishnu, who carries a disc in his hand. Thus I have no independence. Now he's not saying who taught him about Vishnu. He's just saying by Vishnu's mercy I'm attracted to him. Like you want to know, they wanted to know, where'd you learn this? He didn't say from Narada. He didn't say not Narada. He didn't lie. He just said, by the mercy of Vishnu, I'm attracted to him. And I can't help myself, like an iron that's attracted to a magnetic stone. It's just attracted, and there it goes. I think even our children have had the experience with iron and magnet. Have you done that in school or somewhere? No? Have you seen? You've seen, but not visibly in front of you. Okay. I had a science inclination, so that's exactly what iron filings even make an arc. Not just they attract little, screws and little pieces of iron, but there's a magnetic field, and iron filings align themselves according to the field, and you move the magnet, and the iron filings move. It has a property. Magnetism has a property that acts upon such metals as iron. Other metals too, but particular iron is common. So he's saying it's spontaneous. By the Lord's mercy, I have this magnetic-like attraction to him. And when he's there, then I'm attracted. I can't help myself. So they wanted to get rid of this attraction. He's saying it's just a property that's inherent, and sorry, you can't get rid of it. Here's Srila Prabhupada's purport. It's a long one. For iron to be attracted by a magnet is natural. Similarly, all living entities to be attracted toward Krishna is natural. Therefore, the Lord's real name is Krishna, meaning he who attracts everyone and everything. The typical examples of such attraction are found in Vrndavan, where everything and everyone is attracted by Krishna. Then he goes giving details. The elderly persons like Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Devi. The elderly, the friends like Sridham, Sudam, and other cowherd boys. The gopis like Srimati Radharani and her associates. And even the birds, beasts, cows, calves are attracted because Krishna is all attractive. The flowers and fruits in the gardens are attracted. The waves of the Yamuna are attracted. And the land, sky, trees, plants, animals, and all other living beings are attracted by Krishna. This is the natural situation of everything in Vrndavan. There's a very wonderful chapter that's just reading this paragraph. The chapter in the 10th canto that's right after the Rasa Lila section it's called the Song of the Gopis. So, as Krishna, the chapter begins after that night of their rasa dance with Krishna. The very next day, Krishna's out with the cows and the cowherd boys taking out the calves. And the structure of the chapter is really nice. There's one verse where Shukadev Goswami explains the scene, and all the other verses are in pairs, where the gopis are conversing with one another, absolutely absorbed in meditation upon Krishna, and describing what happens as he goes into the forest, and how the sound of his flute is stimulating the love of, and it goes through different groups of, the plants and the trees and the creepers, and then the waves of the river Jamuna, and the birds that are standing in the river Jamuna, and even the rocks, and so forth and so on. The whole chapter is just their absorption and thought of Krishna, and how everyone and everything is attracted to Krishna. Then their thoughts go to Krishna hasn't come back yet, so Mother Jasoda's in anxiety. So they want to, or they do, go to console Mother Jasoda, saying, "Don't worry, it's okay, he'll be back soon." Just because he's on his way back, the demigods came, and they wanted to pay their respects. So Krishna didn't want to be neglectful of the demigods paying their respects. So he's receiving respects of the demigods. Your son will come back blessed by the demigods. So don't worry. It's like, they're not, it's something like the narrator of the Bhagavad Gita, Sanjaya. He can see what's going on in the battlefield, even he's remote. He has that power that was invested in him by Vyas. The gopis, although they didn't go to mystic school, they know how to see things at a distance because of their transcendental absorption in Krishna. Right now, Mother Yasoda, right now, because it's towards the end of the day and he's fatigued, they've taken bath in the river Jamuna, and now they're resting by the side of the river Jamuna. Don't worry, he'll be back soon. They're placating her motherly anxiety when their feeling is separation from Krishna. They're setting aside their feelings of separation from Krishna in favor of their affection for Mother Yasoda's motherly feelings of separation from Krishna. It's such a beautiful chapter. Very, very beautiful. But it just, reading this paragraph reminds me, everyone and everything is so beautiful. Even the waves Some of the waves are reaching as if to touch Krishna, but they can't, so they subside. It's like the poetry is so beautiful. That's how they see, because of their attachment to Krishna. Everyone and everything in Vrndavan is attracted to Krishna. Paragraph. Just contrary to the affairs of Vrndavan is the material world, where no one is attracted by Krishna and everyone is attracted by Maya. This is the difference between the spiritual and material worlds. Hiranyakasipu, who was in the material world, was attracted by women and money, whereas Prahlad Maharaj, being in his natural position, was attracted by Krishna, or his manifestation of Lord Nrsimhadev. In reply to Hiranyakashipu's question about why Prahlad Maharaj had a deviant view, Prahlad said that his view was not deviant, for the natural position of everyone is to be attracted by Krishna. Hiranyakashipu found this view deviant, Prahlad said, because of being unnaturally unattracted by Krishna. Hiranyakashipu therefore needed purification. That was the previous set of verses before he was sent to be worked over by the teachers. Final paragraph. As soon as one is purified of material contamination, he is again attracted by Krishna. Sarvopadi vanir muktam tat paratvena nirmalam. Nirmalam, without mala, without contamination. In the material world, everyone is contaminated by the dirt of sense gratification and is acting according to different designations. Sometimes as a human being, sometimes as a beast, sometimes a demigod or a tree, and so on. One must be cleansed of all these designations. Then one will be naturally attracted to Krishna. The bhakti process purifies the living entity of all unnatural attractions. When one is purified, he is attracted by Krishna and begins to serve Krishna instead of serving Maya. This is his natural position. A devotee is attracted by Krishna, whereas a non-devotee, being contaminated by the dirt of material enjoyment, is not. This is confirmed by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita 7:28. Yesham tvantakatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva mohanir mukta bhajante mam dridha vrataha. Translation. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my devotional service with determination. Final. One must be freed from all the sinful dirt of material existence. Everyone in this material world is contaminated by material desire. Unless one is free from all material desire, anyabhilasha shunyam, one cannot be attracted by Krishna. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is like Mission Impossible, in the sense that when someone is unclean, unless they want to become clean, try to offer them an opportunity to become clean, and they think there's something wrong with you. I was shocked one time, just a little story. The first time I went to China, I spent some time in Beijing. And when visiting China, and staying in Beijing, there was not. Now there is a center. It's not like a Hare Krishna temple or anything, because you can't have a Hare Krishna temple in China. It's just a really good organizer lady. Her name is Sandini. Her profession is she's an artist, and when she sells her art, she gets a good financial return. She has a little bit of following, so that's how she then used that money to buy some property. Then she regularly communicates with the Chinese government that this is just my art studio, and I have some friends. Anyway, aside from all that, before there was that place, someone was visiting from Mongolia. Mongolia sounds like it's... Where's Mongolia? What do people in Mongolia do? Well, it's very cold. It's in the mountains. And most of the year, it's far worse than Chicago. I mean, really cold. So when I went, it was nice weather. It was, nice weather. So one young man was visiting in Beijing from Mongolia, and he had been introduced to Krishna consciousness. I didn't ask him how. But, we got into a conversation. I forget how it came out. And he said, the conditions in Mongolia are so severe that it's not uncommon for me and others like me to not take a bath for 6 months. I was speechless. I can't even imagine it. Can you imagine it? I'm looking at our older three in the chairs over here. Can you imagine not taking a bath for 6 months? It's unimaginable. I didn't know what to say. I said, well, do the best you can. Now it's good warm weather, so, try to bathe at least daily and brush your teeth too, So how to bring devotional value into the life of people who are still covered? And it's not just that extreme example, but covered. The darkness of the age of Kali is very thick, very strong. Try it. Go, meet people, many people from India that are living in the West have, they've lost their culture. And they're not uncomfortable that they've lost their culture. They've adopted the culture of no culture and are quite comfortable with it. Not by conditioning. And it's a challenge. Prabhupada says, it's more difficult to wake a person who's pretending to sleep than it is a person who's sleeping. You follow? If they think, this is very nice. Yes, I know, your ideas, but, I'm not interested. So, it's definitely a challenge, yet the principle doesn't change even if the challenge is there. Therefore, the method that was given to us through disciplic succession is these three main tools or instruments: the public chanting of the holy name and inviting people in their lives to bring it into their lives, the distribution of prasadam, and all types of people, not just poor people, distribution of prasadam to sanctify one's existence, and the distribution of literature and giving people the opportunity to hear. Just like Prabhupada saying, I was a little surprised that on several occasions, he was speaking in a prison. Because who's not a prisoner? Everyone in this material world, we're Durga Devi, she's in charge. And it's her place. It's a prison. That's one of the meanings of Durga. She's in prison. She's in charge of the prison. I'm chuckling because I was just thinking, in college, for an English class, I gave a little book report on a book by a contemporary author at that time. His name was Ray Bradbury, and the title of the book was One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest. And it's just saying, that the cuckoo's nest was an insane asylum, and the person in charge, the warden in charge of the insane asylum, was Durga. I mean, he didn't use the name Durga, but she didn't let anybody out. And here's this person who is inside the prison or the insane asylum saying, I want to get out. But he can't get out because the prison warden wouldn't let him get out. He tried this and that. I don't know if he intended it to be a parody on the Vedic model or depiction of this material world being like a prison, but it definitely fits. And how to get out. And if you understand it's not a nice place, how do you get out? What to speak of people who think it's a nice place or trying to make it a nice place. Just continuously adjusting and adjusting and adjusting and adjusting. And it is what it is. You got to take the good with the bad with the good. It's just the way it is. It's the complacency. And complacency can come in our progressive spiritual life too, because when the threshold of discomfort subsides, it's really easy to become complacent. Especially people that are pious, because things are okay. You do this and that because it's pious, and it's okay. The struggle is just, that's life, and I just do my piety because then I'll prosper in this life and go to the good place next life. And that's it. It's those who take to Prabhupada's words, and it's true, those who take to spiritual life seriously and don't become complacent after taking to spiritual life, they're the most intelligent people. Because the material energy makes one's consciousness dull. Material energy makes one's consciousness dull. And one just accepts dullness as that's the way it is. And if one doesn't accept that's the way it is, we're not meant to be in a dull place. We're meant to be attracted to the all-attractive. So there are practices that's called sadhana that help the cleansing, just like this young man from Mongolia take a bath. It's just a practice. It's just hygiene. Not difficult. I didn't ask him other questions like, what do you use for toilets? I didn't ask that question. What's your hygiene practice in Mongolia? I didn't ask. But there's practices that help one, and we should take up the practices that help us, because it's meant to get us to the stage where it's spontaneous. The practicing stage is not the spontaneous stage, but the practicing stage is meant to take us to the spontaneous stage. I heard a very nice explanation. I'm going to end with this and see if there's some discussion about Lord Nrsimhadev and honoring this sacred day. Auspicious day. Prabhupada was explaining that the spontaneous devotion is actually our natural existence. It's like this, iron filings are attracted to a magnet, but supposing somebody's not attracted to a magnet, it means they're rusty. Rusty iron doesn't have the same attraction. to the magnet. And you remove some of the rust, and then it gets more attracted. Make it really, really shiny, iron filings, and zoom. Very attracted, spontaneously attracted. So the sadhana is to take that rust, or the chaita darpana marjanam, the covering of the mirror of the heart, or the mirror of the mind, removing that covering of consciousness, the dullness, the complacency, the status quo, I'm okay, you're okay thing. It's meant to take that away. Sadhana is meant to take that away. But the purpose of taking it away is not just stay in the practice stage, but to come to the spontaneous stage. Prabhupada it's a nice example. Those of you, the older generation people will know about this, because before there was automatic transmission in cars, there was standard transmission in cars. You know the difference? No. In standard transmission, you have to have a clutch. There's on the floor, there's a gas pedal, a brake pedal, and a clutch. 3 pedals. You press the clutch, and that which makes contact between the drive shaft and that which turns the wheels is broken, so that the clutch breaks that connection. And if the starter in your car is broken, not functioning, with the automatic transmission, you got to get another starter. But with standard transmission, it's 1, 2, 3. 1, you got a bunch of people pushing the car. 2, you depress the clutch so that that connection is interrupted, and you put your foot on the gas pedal and turn the ignition at the right time. When there's enough speed, at least I don't know what you call it in India. We call it pop the clutch. Same in India? Pop the clutch? Different expression? Pop the clutch. So when you do that, it's called a jump start. And then what happens is, because the starter is not working, that's okay. I mean, it can be bypassed by jump start. Push, push, push. Turn the ignition, gas pedal, pop the clutch. Vroom, vroom. I heard Prabhupada speaking like that. Vroom, vroom. Then his expression was that the natural power of the car now kicks in. So if your starter's not working, if you're not spontaneously attracted to Krishna, that's okay. You can jumpstart. The jumpstart is sadhana. But the goal is not just forever jumpstart, to forever push the car. It's to get to the purpose is to get to the place where the car moves on its own vroom, vroom, its own strength. And that's our purpose. We're doing sadhana, inviting auspiciousness on an auspicious day, and before and after, of hearing transcendental sound vibrations, opening the heart, cleansing the heart, and opening the heart towards the very merciful, kind, compassionate Lord Nrsingadev, who is fierce for the non-devotee Hiranyakasipu, and very gentle for the devotee Prahlad. And to make that connection, the sadhana is there. It's the jumpstart method. And then we don't have to change the activity once the transcendental connection is there. But there are feelings on the soul platform that are very natural. And when you feel those feelings, it's like, this is good. And if we're not there yet, you just can continue the sadhana and don't become complacent. When tribulations subside and now I'm comfortable, so I just kind of kick back and take it easy and wait till another tribulation comes, then get serious again. So don't do like that. Be clear what the message is, and the mission of life is to make that spontaneous attraction restored. The spontaneous attraction for Krishna restored. which requires cleansing. So we do the cleansing and awakening process of sadhana bhakti. So today's a good day for that, because it's an auspicious day. And whatever our position is in spiritual trajectory, that's okay, whatever it is, it is. And look towards the process of purification and towards the happiness that we're meant to be experiencing through natural attraction to Krishna. Whatever it takes, you just continue with the purification process. Let's see if there's some discussion. And my compliments to the younger persons in the room here, because when I see young devotees, I wonder what to do, because it's not easy to pay attention.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. In Tuesday class, you said wherever is Narasimha Dev deity, we should worship. Wherever he is very merciful. And my question is that, like in India, there is like many Narasimha Dev temple. I don't know. I think they are not authentic, but still they are worshipping. So is there same level? Sorry, I don't know how to put. Is there the same way we can do worship there also?
Yes.
Okay.
The worshipper, you, makes all the difference. Now, if there is a special Nrsingadev temple that is replete, abundant worship of that Nrsinga deity, you feel something special because there's something special. However, if the Nrsinga deity is not as nicely worshipped, but you have some affinity for Lord Nrsingadev, then it's still fully transcendental.
Yeah. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Just a little sharing along this note. Just today, there's a devotee I know that lives in Vrndavan. He used to live in central New Jersey. He now lives in Vrndavan. His name is Sri Vrndavan Das, disciple of Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Very nice devotee. And today, this morning, my time, evening his time, he sent me a photograph of an altar that is in Nandagram. What's Nandagram? Nandagram is the place where Nanda Maharaj lived. And on the altar is a deity of Lord Nrsingadev. Nanda Maharaj worshipped Lord Nrsingadev. And long ago I asked him, do you know who is the deity over there? As we're looking at the altar, it's on the left side, it's Lord Varaha. I didn't know. And he visited there this morning and sent me a little note. That was Lord Varaha. But for your information, Nanda Maharaj worshipped Lord Nrsingadev. If you want to know who his Ishtadev, his worshipable deity is. And he's the father of Krishna. So he's during his time, often those who are followers of Vedic culture, they saw Lord Narayana, not Krishna, as the supreme. And so there are different forms of Narayana. And one of those forms is Lord Nrsingadev. So that's a very special deity in response to your question. There's somebody continuing to do the worship of that deity that Nanda Maharaj originally worshipped, but it's a very auspicious place. It's a small little temple at the base of the hill. Nanda Bhavan is up on a hill, and down to the side there's a little Nrsingadev temple and Lord Varaha and some Shilas. Something else?
Guru Maharaj, one more question. Like when we are cooking on special day or sometime in temple, that time our consciousness is little different. We are thinking about Krishna, or sometime like some Maharaj is coming when we are cooking for him. So we are thinking about him only. Okay, he will like this way we will make. So our consciousness is like more
Better.
improved, better.
Yeah.
But other day, like
the
normal
same.
days, we are not able to do that. I am not able to do that. So how to cultivate that mood?
How to? Purification, practice, contemplation in why you're doing what you're doing. And that takes, it takes some time. It takes time only because we're attached. And the contamination is what it is. The covering is what it is. So what to do is you direct your attention to the why question. Keep good association and continuing nice practices. That day will come when, for example, you'll be qualified to directly worship the deity in the temple. May that day come. And when that day comes, then now is preparation for that. And that day comes, then there can be the familiarity of not having the proper regard, because supposing somebody does that for years and years and years, and they can become complacent also. So how to not become complacent? Another, by having proper regard and proper practices. Abhyasa yoga yuktena, chetas ananyagamino. That's how.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. Guru Maharaj, when I was, I have one more story of Prahlad Maharaj that I heard from third canto, which was, I'm referring to Deity and Kashyap Muni. So, because of what happened, the Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksha were born through them. They also got a boon from Lord Shiva, I think, that Prahlad Maharaj will appear and that he will be auspicious and he will be the source to get killed the demons who were about to be born through them. So Prahlad Maharaj already had the blessings because a boon from Lord Shiva before he was supposed to appear. And another thing is he also heard from Narad Muni when he was in the womb of his mother. So he had like so many benedictions. I was just trying to relate to both the benedictions he had.
Well, that Lord Shiva said such and such, you're taking it as a benediction. However, it could be his clairvoyance. Even before he takes birth, he knows what's going to happen. Not necessarily he gave his benediction and therefore it happened. Got it?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. And I also wanted to comment like how Prahlad Maharaj, he had faith, he was fearless, and he was still doing his sadhana throughout his life before the appearance of Lord Narasimha happens.
Well, in his case, it wasn't sadhana. In my case, it was spontaneous devotion.
So that was natural.
Yes, that was natural.
Okay.
That was not sadhana. Sadhana means to practice, to become spontaneous, and he was already spontaneous in his devotion.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. He gave association to so many people. He was a true devotee, and I really like it. Like, he gave association to all the family members he was living with.
An opportunity to serve. Something else? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I think you mentioned in the initial that everybody is like a prisoner and Durga is like she's the
In charge.
gatekeeper or the in charge.
It's her place.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that one?
That's the meaning of the name. It's one of the meanings of the name. Durga means in charge of a prison. So the material world, elaborating, is the material world is compared sometimes to a prison. And the persons in the material world are prisoners because they're rebellious against the law of the Supreme. As in the state, there's a prison because people are rebellious against the laws of the state. So when they're apprehended, they're put into prison. Similarly, that's the comparison of to another thing. The other thing is this material world is such a place. It's a prison, or our prisons are like that one, and it's not the other way around. But we often speak of it the other way around. It's like a prison. It's a prison. It's a place where people who are rebellious they're not put out of existence. They're given a place to stay. And in that place to stay, there's first-class prisoners, second-class prisoners, third-class prisoners, just like in a prison. This is Prabhupada's explanation. The first-class prisoner may be given privileges, but they're still in prison. They don't have freedom. They have privileges, but they don't have freedom. So they're persons in the mode of goodness. They have privileges, but they don't have freedom. They have more freedom than the third-class prisoners. And the species of life can be thought of like that. But it's a prison. And to try to get out of the prison, the cycle of birth and death is very difficult to overcome. You have to have somebody come and let you out.
So I just wonder that those people who are totally devoted to her as the goddess, mother, does she give them liberation if they're in the mode of goodness?
No. That's a very, very clear, explicitly clear principle. Those who are devas and devis, they themselves are not liberated, nor can they give liberation. They can give an upgrade, but they can't give liberation. Okay? Behind you.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, when I do my chanting or preparing bhoga, I feel very enthu and good, but that is not consistent. Like few days I'm really doing it good, and few days I'm very low in my enthu, like not in a good, I'm not happy about what I'm doing. So how can I maintain that consistency, Guru Maharaj?
By purity. There isn't an alternative. Before steady is unsteady. So you continue working in that sine curve, unsteady, until purification comes, and then it becomes steady. The stages of bhakti. The stage prior to steady is your stage. It's unsteady. And there's categories of unsteady, and one of those is anartha nivritti. Means eradication of unwanted contamination, unwanted things. Anartha nivritti. And what drives the nivritti part of anartha nivritti? It's the bhajana kriya. So you just do your bhajana kriya nicely. And some days it's going to be up, and some days it's going to be down. And some days it's going to be up. And so the unsteady is the sine curve experience. It's just standard. So your question is how to get steady? Let's become pure. Strive for purity. And continue to be patient. Don't become complacent. Continue to strive. And the sincerity and the intensity of effort that you make to become pure, that's going to determine how long it's going to take or how quickly it'll come. The time factor is going to be measured by that. Okay. Behind you?
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. If sadhana is a jump start
Yeah.
which will lead to spontaneity, what are the signs that we would know that we have crossed that path?
Well, two things. One is it's gradual. It's incremental. It's not, a 1 or a 0. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's explanation of how can we see, are we making progress? It's not the 1 yet, but it's not the 0 either. It's how are we making progress? It's two things. Affinity for transcendence, or the activities of devotion, and then the object of devotion, affinity there, and waning of the affinity for the temporary, trying to finding happiness in the temporary. So those are, but now your question is none of the things that I said. It's how do you know when the bell rings that you're there? That was your question. And Prabhupada answered it elaborately in one morning walk conversation in South Africa that I like. And the question was a little different, but the same question. How do we know that we're chanting in a quality way? And it's but Prabhupada gave the answer. When there's not a question of counting. Why 16 rounds? 16 million. There's no measuring. It's just coming. And there may be some measuring, but there's no limit to it. Here's a little example. It's not that he's at the spontaneous stage, but there's a devotee in Houston, the previous temple president named Shamsundar. He sent me he communicates regularly. His plan today is to chant 192 rounds. And that, 16 rounds times 4 times 3. So 64 rounds 3 times today. And that's like intense. Just even, use of time, what to speak of doing that one thing all day long. Not only he's, fasting, but he's only doing one thing all day long. So Prabhupada's answer to what's, quality chanting, or what's the spontaneous stage, there's nothing stopping it, there's nothing starting it. It's just spontaneous. Ahaitukiya pratyata. Yayatma suprasidati. And there's a happiness within. It's that happiness within that's driving. Suprasana. When there's topic, here's another way of answering your question. It's found in Canto 3, Chapter 19. It's Kapila Dev answering his mother's question. Is bhakti is pure, but is it possible that bhakti can be influenced by the modes? Yes. So he describes the mode of bhakti that's influenced by the mode of ignorance, by the mode of passion, by the mode of goodness, and then bhakti that's not. That's your question. He says, he gives the example, just like a river moving downstream in rainy season. When there's topics of Krishna, the mind just goes. There's no effort. You can't constrain the mind. It just goes. That's the spontaneous stage. That's, when you don't need a push. It's just vroom, vroom.
Thank you, Maharaj.
And the stimulus is Krishna in the form of a deity or the form of sound or in form of something. Yeah, it's just spontaneous. That's the spontaneous stage. Your wife has something.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. So my question is, every day nowadays you are talking about or telling us about taking shelter of Narasimha Dev.
Yeah.
So this question is running through my mind every day. So before today, like I was worshipping Narasimha Dev as a protector, or if I am sick, anybody is sick, okay, he will protect, or that's I'm doing arti, I am doing the mantra every day. But I have a question. When today I'm going to the temple, I just want to reset myself. You told that we should recite some prayers from Bhagavatam, but as a beginner, my question is like, what should be my mood, my consciousness, or what should be in my heart, like which I can offer to Narasimha Dev to invite him in my life? Should I hear about him every day, which I'm not doing? So what should I do, Maharaj?
Well, a little while ago, we were hearing so much about Lord Ramachandra because it was Ram Navami. And now the channel's Lord Nrsimhadev. And then it's going to be some, Krishna Janmastami, etc. So our attention goes to the form of the Lord that is being honored at a particular time. And so I'm not answering your question, I'm speaking about your question. There's the emphasis because it's Lord Nrsimhadev's appearance. But it's not like you when a new holiday comes, you're not shifting to that new holiday. There's something wrong if you make that shift or something like that. There are devotees. There's one family I know where the son worships Nrsimhadev, the father worships Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman, and the wife worships Gornatai. And this, they're very compatible family. And they have like a nice altar with these deities, and they're focused. So I'm just commenting on the context of your question. Now, the main question is what should be the orientation of your heart towards when you go to the temple and you're doing a reset on everything. A lot depends upon your heart. But, some standard principle might be there's a very nice one that Prahlad offers in Canto 5, Chapter 19, where he prays to Lord Nrsimhadev to remove the contamination from his heart. Now, he doesn't have contamination in his heart. But your sharp nails and your pinching teeth don't intimidate me. Please use them to take all the impurity from my heart away. There's no impurity, but that's his submission. Because he's capable, and are we willing? Or and another prayer, please keep me always in the association of your dear devotees, because they will always remind me of you, because my tendency is to be forgetful of you. But their association will always remind me of you and inspire me to serve you. So I could give some other examples, but the other examples are from standard prayers, and then what resonates with you is how you should offer your prayer. So become familiar with what standard prayers are, and then what resonates most with you, that's what you carry when you come to the temple and greet the deity. And it could be, I am in such a covered condition that whatever bhakti I have is by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So please please help me strengthen my affinity for Prabhupada, because that's my lifeline. Or, then 15 other things. It could be that the mood. So it's what's coming from your heart is what should come from your heart, not just your head. The right answer as opposed to not the right answer. There's no right answer. It's what your heart says.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
I have one more, but I will give chance to others.
No, it's okay. You go.
Okay. So from Tuesday class, you were talking about material hankerings. So my question was because maybe I am full of impurities or my sadhana is not too strong. So still when I go out, I go for some shopping, still my mind says, oh, I need this thing and I want it. Sometimes I need it, sometimes I don't. So is there any instruction from Bhagavad Gita or what what I can tell my mind, okay, to get away from these type of attraction towards object?
There's instruction in the second canto. You can read in the section that deals with like the tortoise can withdraw his limbs from within the shell. In that whole section, there are verses that describe withdrawing the senses from sense objects. And then when to extend the senses to sense objects is for the purpose of service. That's a scriptural. And I would say something that I've learned is if there's something that you think that you need, as a policy, wait some time and see if it's really a need, and wait some more. If it comes up enough, like 10 times, okay, then it's really a need. And if it's not a need, you just forego it. And by that withdrawing from the urge, vegam, it's nectar of instruction. The word vegam is there. Pushing, urge. Then when you have those urge under control, you can extend when it's for service, and otherwise you're not controlled by it. And you don't have that discipline, and then you're controlled by it. Life just becomes, there's an object, that's it. My life is controlled by the objects. I'm just a puppet, a dancing doll in the hands of the senses and sense objects. What a foolish position. So, and if there's something that you need, be careful that you get one that's going to last instead of one that's going to just not get used or just break because it's not, here's just a practical example. I was, when computers were starting to become popular, I decided I'm not going to get a computer because it's going to just eat up my life. So I did correspondence by having a little recorder, and I gave the cassette to the transcriber, and then they would give me the transcription, and I would edit, and those were my letters. But after some time, I waited about 10 times. PowerPoints are starting to become useful or popular, and so maybe I could. And then finally got a computer, but I was with reservation. If it's to be used in Krishna's service, okay. Think about it before just impulsively reaching for the object. Then get a good computer and take care of it. When you get something, you take care of it. You maintain it nicely because it's for Krishna's service.
Got my answer. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Maharaj, if time permits, I have 4 questions.
Let's do 2. Pick 2.
Okay.
Because there's one up front and then we're going to end.
Yes. So Maharaj, you mentioned that complacency can come in our devotional lives as well. So I just wanted to understand that I believe that it is something internal disposition, because externally we, as aspiring devotees, we do prescribed number of rounds and all those things. So how does it actually like manifest in our life?
How does it actually manifest? It's a slackening of the sense of purpose. And when you slacken the sense of purpose of doing something, then the taste is no longer there. And then another stage of complacency is, I don't know if I want to do this. Or I may just do it mechanically. But that's, that's the manifestation of complacency.
Okay, Maharaj. And Maharaj, when you were reading, so there was 2 times it came, not attracted by Krishna. Or so Prabhupada is using this by word, even when he is referring to the living entities also, like in normal English, like we would say attracted to Krishna. So is there some specific reason that Prabhupada is saying attracted by Krishna?
Yeah. It's a subject-object. Krishna is the object and we're the subject. He's the object of attraction, attracted by Krishna. He is attractive. He is attracting us. Attractive too is, can be thought of as, I'm doing it. I'm going to, it's the doership. I'm going to be attracted to Krishna. Instead of, it's submissive subject to the object of attraction. It's a detail.
Yeah. And like Prahlad Maharaj also said that I can't help it. So it's like Krishna is attracting him.
That's right. Yes. That's attracted by.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Up front. And this is it. Ta-da.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So it is on the bringing the auspiciousness in the dark age. So I was reading the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam 5.18.9, where Prabhupada wrote, Lord Nrsingadev, sit in the core of my heart, killing all my bad propensities. Let my mind become clean so that I may peacefully worship the Lord and bring peace to the entire world.
Yes. That's the prayers by the residents of Jambudweep. That's chapter 18.
Yeah. So
And then the next one is the one I referred to. That your teeth and your claws, please take my contamination away.
yeah. So my question is like, on the contrary, what it seems like with my unclean mind and habits, I am disturbing the peace of the entire world. I am discussing with Shivram Prabhu, so we were discussing like that. So I must take the responsibilities of that. And what is the remedy to go from where I am to where I want to be?
Sadhana with purpose in association of devotees under the guidance of spiritual master. Okay, I think we're ready to wrap up. There's an online question? 2? Okay, let's do the online question. From yesterday morning class, how to exercise Pandita. What happened? Samadarshana principle. While doing what?
While dealing.
By dealing with
Various
devotees. Okay.
Like how to treat
our devotees.
So, first you have to become a pandita, and then you can act according to the pandita principle. Pandita sees 2 things. Primarily, that there's the forms of life and the diversity of amongst the forms of life, etc., etc., etc. So amongst the devotees, various devotees, there's varieties of devotees. And then you see the the position, the variety amongst the devotees, but you're seeing the spirit soul. So you serve the spirit soul because the spirit soul is part of Krishna. That's part of your service to Krishna, is to serve spirit souls. Now, how do you serve persons that are spirit souls in different positions according to their position? Like, there's more advanced, there's peers, and there's less advanced. And the followers of Bhaktisiddhanta, so these terms, Uttama, Madhyama, and Kanishta. Uttama, Madhyama, Kanishta. Then there's Uttama Uttama, Madhyama Uttama, Kanishta Uttama. Madhyama, Uttama Madhyama, Madhyama Madhyama. So you make distinctions, and you have the mood of service and the proper regard according to one's position. And the principle is you serve because here's a spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. And especially among spirit souls, here are devotees. So let me have a relationship or have a mode of service appropriate for the position of that devotee, while maintaining the Pandita perspective, the Samadarshana perspective. They're spirit souls meant to be served. What steps should one follow from Prahlad Maharaj for such, what's the last word?
Devotional service.
Such devotional service. That's like Mataji's question. You know, what should be our mood? What fits? Different persons are going to have a different mood, and that's just fine. So take those teachings. Could you put the phone down? Thanks. Absorb yourself, regularly hear the teachings of Prahlad, and those which strike your heart strongest and resonate, you do that. And at different times it's going to be something else, and another times it's something else. So just main thing is open your heart, and whatever strikes your heart, you do that. That's how you follow in the footsteps. Okay, so no Mahaprasadam because it's a Lord Shingadev's appearance day. Srila Prabhupada ki, Nrsimha Bhagavan ki, Prahlad Maharaj ki, Gaur Premanandi.